Thank you so much for coming back to UMass Yak Back. This week we are going to talk about the government shutting down on us. We're going to talk about some serious finales. And last but not least, we're going to talk about very embarrassing photographs, as I'm sure everyone in our panel is familiar with. Stick with us. We have an excellent episode for you this week on UMass Yak Back. If we haven't already met, I would like to introduce myself as John Hollowitz. I would also like to introduce my compatriots Ben Shaw, Sam Bagel, and Brendan Hofstas. And we're going to talk to you about the government and its doings. I'm not totally that aware of what's going on, but Ben Shaw, he's an expert. Ben, please explain this whole shutdown business.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, every September 30th every year, the government is supposed to be coming together, the House and the Senate, as a Congress, meeting together and forming a budget. This year, we didn't form a budget. This year, we're apart. This year, the House kept sending bills to the Senate that the Senate kept rejecting. So that means that the government, the federal government, has now shut down and is now introducing mandatory budget cuts that include the shutdown of our National Zoo, which is a complete tragedy, the closing of our national parks and monuments, and other federal doings that involve things that aren't important to the life or liberty of American citizens. So that's where we're at right
This
now.
sounds like an issue, and we always have to point the finger in this country, right? Is this because of a certain person, a certain party? What's the deal? Who's to blame?
Well, you could say right now the Republican Party is to blame, more specifically the Tea Party faction that is existing right now.
They're the ones holding it up?
The Tea Party faction is the one right now that is really trying to push the fact that they're trying to push Obamacare out of government. And so they keep sending bills from the House of Representatives to the Senate that does not include Obamacare. And the Senate, that is controlled by the Democrats at this point, keeps sending it back saying, we're not going to sign this because our President Obama, has put forth this entire huge Obamacare healthcare system for the country, but they are a small faction that doesn't want it in government right now.
Because it sounds like it did pass. Obamacare did pass, I thought, according to whatever you want to call it, newspaper, TV. I mean, nobody can trust media anymore, but I'm going to take their word for it because I didn't get like a little letter from God himself who said, no, this is just another piece of bullshit from. So I think that Obamacare passed, but are they just don't want to acknowledge that? Are they just trying to stop what already is? Is it like a...
It seems childish, doesn't it? It seems like they are not getting what they want, so they would rather ruin everyone's time than just suck it up. Is that
out and scream at the party? Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, Obamacare passed in the federal Supreme Court. I mean, it passed as constitutional. So at this point, it's really just a faction within government, which is this new Tea Party, holding the rest of the country back.
Wow. So Brendan, what do you think? Do you think this is totally immature? Do you respect that the government is capable of doing something like this?
I mean, it seems very childish how you put it, like they're just butting heads rather than doing what's best for everyone else. They're just looking out for themselves.
Yeah, it's like it seems like a stalemate. I don't know. As I've said, I don't follow politics that much, but it seems like we're trying to get this done, and most people want us to get this done, but you don't, and you're not allowing it, so now we're all pretty screwed.
Yeah, you know what? It reminds me of, we have a tea party, but where's the coffee party? Where's the real caffeine and sugar? Like, we want to get it done. We want to have our cup of coffee, nail out this paper, hit the party. You know, tea, it's like, could be herbal. It could be like...
We're just trying to move on.
I have a sore throat. I just need some help with my...
How are we supposed to get past this point if there's just this blockade? Shouldn't we as a people unite? I know it sounds like so cliche, but like we are the United States of America. Can you explain to me how we've come to this point?
Well, at this point, I guess it's just in the government's hand. I mean, if you think about it, it's the government, and then we're sort of the people, but we're sort of somehow outside of the government in their doings at this point. At this point, I mean, what you can do is, I guess, you could write to your congressman or your representative and say, I'm sick of this. I mean, that could be one thing that, we as a people could do. Or we could do as the Romans did, and we could riot back in the day. And that's how they got things done. When they didn't like things, they rioted. And then, the Congress said, we should change this because the people are going crazy right now.
Yeah, but how did that I didn't follow it all the way through, but how did that whole 99% revolt thing turn out? Did anything really come of that, or was that just a brief freedom of speech demonstration?
Well, I think it has largely to do with the media. The media did enormously capitalize on kind of the groovier aspects to the whole Occupy Wall Street. So they focused in on the unemployed, the hippier side of the movement. But a lot of people were there who are working class, regular citizens. And while Wall Street people were drinking champagne on their balconies looking down, a lot of regular people were there. The media didn't choose to actually hone in and focus on what legitimate arguments were at hand. The media did like to make a mockery of it, and I think that hurt the movement. But I think that there's a lot of potential for a mob uprising.
I think with
Definitely
things like this, we like to glamorize the conflict.
Yes.
It's similar to what's happened in Egypt. They've been having all of those protests, but all I really see is when things turn violent, when the police get violent, and the reasons that they got violent. Again, I'm not totally educated, so I don't want to speak on it, but I feel like it is totally, at least with our forefathers, I don't know what they actually thought, how they would have no idea about how to handle this situation, but still we rely on it so much. Do you think that it's a situation that we need to change at its most basic level, or do you think it's a surface issue of just needing people to gut up and get along?
Well, I think as far as the Occupy Wall Street goes, I think that as a people, it showed that there's a problem within this country. I mean, you see all these people camping out in Zuccotti Park. I mean, that in itself, that amount of people there in a space during a certain amount of time shows that there are people who want something changed within this country. I think it failed a lot because it didn't have a single leader or a single goal within the movement. But I think it really showed as a people, as an American people, that there is a problem in this country. There is a large disparity of wealth, of inequality in this country, and I think that needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a question on the healthcare side of it. We have passed healthcare. So is it reasonable for the House to actually, it's the Senate who is rejecting the House's budget, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Is it reasonable for the House to blatantly ignore something that's passed and which is, I think, in effect in the law? How is that reasonable?
I wouldn't say it's reasonable at all. And in fact, I think a faction within government, and I think this has been debated, not even debated. I mean, this is just basic political theory. A faction within a government is a very dangerous thing. And you think of our government as, we pin the Republicans against the Democrats, but now there's a third party faction within the Republicans that's sort of skewing what the Republicans or what the Republican Party can actually, is trying to go for. So I think this faction is really dangerous to our country because it really is just stalling what we need to get done, and it's just not letting us, focus on more important issues at this point.
Now, in our pre-show discussion, we were talking about ideals as a country, and one of the things that came up is this two-party system. Sam, I know you said you want to do away with it. Now, Brendan and Sam, I want you to tell me what do you think would be a better situation, a better kind of scenario for our government to be in beyond this Democrat-Republican society. And then, Ben, I want you to share with us what you think is the most realistic approach to changing it up.
Okay.
So, Brendan, start with you.
I mean, back to what he was saying about going in and changing a pre-existing thing, rather than just complete refusal to change, rather just meet in the middle, compromise, do what's best for all parties, rather than this defined party versus this defined party, just mesh a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could solve a few problems.
Mm-hmm. Sam, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I think John Lennon said it best. You say you want a revolution. Well, yeah, we all want to change the world. But he also did say, imagine all the people living for today. So I think that all the people is what we want to focus on. If I had a government, you can consider the philosopher king, which I think is definitely a huge and potential issue. But I think that we should have 10 doctors, 10 engineers, 10 teachers, 10 of everyone. We need our firefighters represented. We need our rocket scientists. We need our businessmen, our stock investors. We need 10 of everybody and sit down. And I think that these people need to at least have open minds. They need to approach it like a jury approaches a new case. You got to drop all your pre-existing knowledge, which is definitely tough, if not impossible. But ideally, we got 10 of everybody. Maybe it would end up being 300 people, but it would be people of different backgrounds. What we have right now is people who are indoctrinated in old-fashioned politics and just stuck on ridiculous, outdated ideals. And I think we need.
So what you're saying is
blue-collar
it's about perspective.
Yeah, it
we
needs
need
to be a
to
blue-collar government.
more. We need to broaden our perspective. Now these sound great in theory, but in practice, do you think this is possible, or do we have to go for something a little more like a better compromise?
Well, I think Sam brings up an interesting point. And when this nation was getting founded, and we were writing the Constitution, there was a big debate between the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists of whether we want to send virtuous individuals. On the Federalist side, they wanted to send people who were qualified to run in government, while the Anti-Federalist side believed in sending the common people, the farmer, to government. And I think you have an interesting point that's saying we need to nowadays send people who are more grounded into what the people want, because it seems like government nowadays has become disillusioned with what the people actually want. I think at one point it was a smart idea to send the most qualified people to government. I think that's still probably the best way to do it. But nowadays it seems the people are just much far more removed from the whole process than they once were.
It seems so obvious, doesn't it? Now listen up, America. We need to change. As a people, it is our responsibility to move our country forward. If we cannot accept this and we cannot participate, where are we going to go? Nowhere but down. It's time for us to go up. And up next, we have a special edition of UMass Yak Back for this next segment, where we're going to talk about series finales in television shows. Stick with us. Although this is merely the second segment in UMass Yak Back, it is common knowledge that all good things must come to an end, even television. We're about to talk about some of the greatest and worst, if we want to, endings of any television series we choose. Today we have Pat Amadon, we have Molly Plain, and we have Jess O'Hanley, first-time Yak Backer. I hope you do well. You have the best of luck from me. So Pat, have you seen any fantastic finales recently?
Recently, yes. Everybody will talk about it. Breaking Bad's finale was one of the best ones I've seen, in my opinion.
So, when you say best, do you mean it answers all the questions?
I mean, in this case, yeah. I know a lot of TV shows didn't end in a way that just they tie up loose ends, like they leave it for like the viewer to like interpret things. In this case, they tied up all the loose ends in a really like interesting way, and it didn't feel like forced like some shows like do. Like they didn't feel like you didn't feel like you were like just trying to get it all in before you ran out of time.
It's almost like they planned the ending instead of just trying to shove the lid on it. They already had the lid, and they were just trying to. Yeah, I don't know how to put it, but
they were just screwing it on.
Because I've seen other shows that just totally try to like make everything make sense with a limited amount of time. Breaking Bad wasn't this way.
No, it was like I've been a fan from the beginning, and it all was gonna come down. It's like, are they gonna mess it up? Are they gonna try and do too much? But they hit the nail on the head.
Well, Breaking Bad is definitely a prolific series. I know another hugely prolific series was Lost. Molly, I understand you're a fan.
Yes, I loved Lost. It's my favorite series finale that I can think of, because it didn't wrap up everything, but there was no way that it could, because they went in so many crazy directions and it was so dumb. But like, I was never into the mystery so much as like the human relationships, and they wrapped all that up really nicely. So I liked that. It was actually an amazing experience, because I was like really sick and I was graduating high school, and I was like, just emotions were crazy. And then I watched that, and I just sobbed like a baby for like 2 hours. I was like hysterically ugly crying watching the last finale, and I just felt amazing afterward.
Well, the point you just said about how they don't tie up all of the mystery, but the human experience is key. I understand that, but I understand why a lot of people might disagree with that, how a lot of people want all of their questions answered. But at the same time, if this was if these shows were realities, how often in reality do you get every question answered? It's unrealistic. You're also a fan of Lost, right, Jess?
I am, yeah.
What did you think of the finale?
I loved the show, everything about it, the entire way through, but the ending kind of upset me because it ends in a way where, I'm sorry if I'm spoiling this, but it ends in a way where everything that you've watched could have not happened and it would have been the same exact thing. Like, it kind of feels like you enjoyed it, but you wasted like several seasons.
But that's because everybody dies.
Yeah, but that's true with life.
That's what I mean.
That's
like
not
everybody in the
necessarily a
world dies.
spoiler.
So,
I
like,
guess,
yeah,
yeah.
you could have watched it and like the same thing would have happened. Because yeah, everyone
So to
ended up
skim
dead.
over
None of it would
Lost.
matter. We're all gonna be dead.
I just know that I watched a few episodes with my mom, so I kind of got a basic understanding of characters. And then when I saw that finale, that went way over my head.
Yeah.
I was
It got pretty
Lost.
wild.
The way they play Lost is you get attached to a character and they immediately kill them off. You start liking someone, they're dead. So
I liked
So,
when everyone was dying.
are there any finales that you were
you liked
totally
it?
Yeah,
totally unsatisfied by?
Dexter.
Yes.
Dexter.
Dexter?
Dexter,
Ron
100%.
Martin.
You can tell me what happens because that's a show that I was into maybe through 4 seasons and I fell off of. And so whatever you say now, I probably won't even be able to
I
put together.
I feel like if I told you how Dexter ends, you would think I was lying to you. If I told
Tell
you
me
that-
now,
That's a good
spoiler
way.
alert. Spoiler alert. Dexter is about to be
All
given
right.
away.
Dexter ends.
Don't be disappointed.
That is so lame. Why didn't he get caught? He should get caught, right? That's what I thought was going to happen.
The way Dexter went, it was like as if you ran over a deer with your car and then you let it live for another 3 years and then you shot it.
Yeah. No, yeah,
Like,
that's
it was
interesting
stupid.
because earlier we were talking about series that essentially end before they really do end. I think the best example is The Office when Michael Scott, Steve Carell's character leaves. There's this
Scrubs,
whole
too.
Oh, Scrubs is insane because Scrubs when it was on NBC was great, but then it did that transition to ABC and they brought in James Franco's brother, who I've gotten to accept, but I hated him. I hated him in that show so much. And then that blonde girl who was supposed to be like the new JD,
She's
was
hilarious.
she
on
was
Happy Endings.
what's happy endings?
It's another too soon canceled show that I can't talk about because I'm still in mourning.
Oh,
It's
really?
amazing and you would love it.
But yes, Scrubs and The Office, they ended long before they were over. That scene with Michael when he's like getting on the airplane and he takes off his microphone or whatever and he's like, "Thanks guys" or whatever,
And then
acknowledging.
Pam runs
can't-
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that should have been it. I haven't seen beyond that, so I can't really say that it
didn't miss
must be
anything.
must work. I don't know
Series
how
finale
bad
was
it
really
got.
good, though.
Yeah, they did
The
that.
real.
The
They did a good
series
series
finale.
finale.
Yeah, they did it right.
I gotta catch up. I'm being a little judgmental, but do you think shows have a responsibility to end it, to essentially referring to what you were saying before about pulling the plug when it's appropriate, or do you think, like, when do you think they'll? Because I'm sure The Office was still profitable, but when do you think it should have pulled the plug as opposed to when it actually did?
I think any respectable showrunner would understand the legacy of their show and would call it a day. But also in the situation with The Office, like you don't want to offend everyone else. You can't be like Steve Carell wasn't so show, but like he was. And so they did some weird stuff with like Will Ferrell and James Spader, and it didn't really make any sense. But then it was kind of fine. But like Everybody Loves Raymond, they just took themselves off the air. They were like, we think we're where we want to be and we want to go out on a high note and we're canceling ourselves and this is our last season.
Mm-hmm.
I like
Because-
that so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that like obviously there was the Jim and Pam legacy that still could be carried on. It's similar. I know Breaking Bad. They're doing a spin-off with Saul Goodman. I just heard
I
about
cannot
that.
wait for that. That's
Yeah.
gonna be awesome.
But like, we find ourselves in a similar situation now, where we just hit such a high point with this segment, but still we're not gonna pull the plug. We're gonna carry on. We have a third and final segment for you. It's about embarrassing photos. So if you're interested in seeing other people embarrass about still images of themselves, You better stay tuned. UMass Yak Back. You've put in your hard-earned time. You sat through the first two segments. Now we grant you the third segment. This is all about embarrassment, which everyone loves unless they are the focus of. Returning, we have Brendan Hofstis, then we have Mike Herbert, first time on the show today, and then we have Pat Amadon. What we're going to do right now is we are going to take a bunch of photos of our friends, of our allies, at their worst, at their absolute worst, the pinnacle of awful. First off, we have a matchup between two lovely ladies. I'm looking at the photos right now. First off, we have Jessica O'Hanley. It seems to be a Christmas photo. She's holding up a little thing. She's doing the Austin Powers little pinky Dr. Evil thing. What does it say on that? Shall I read it out loud? Smile. You've been naughty. Take a look at this, Brendan. Initial reaction.
It's all around embarrassment picture.
Do you know Jess?
I don't.
So what do you think of Jess?
She's been naughty. So
What does that
speaks for
imply?
itself.
What does that imply, though? She's broken her parents' rules.
She has.
She's stayed up too late.
Probably.
She ate cookies out of the cookie jar.
I wouldn't put it past her.
Oh, wow. All right. Mike, do you know Jess?
I do.
Does this reflect her personality very well?
It reflects something, all right.
Oh, yeah.
You can see in the background one of the onlookers is
Yeah, I saw him.
quite displeased, and they can recognize how embarrassing it is. But, you know, you don't really get to choose what gifts you get for Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
but you do get to choose what facial expressions you pose when you get those gifts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say this is pretty embarrassing.
Mm-hmm. Pat, what do you think the whole idea of the Christmas spirit, does this represent it, or does this make a mockery of it?
I mean, maybe like the Grinch or something, but
Oh, the Grinch.
Oh.
That's the deepest Christmas insult available. I'm glad you pulled it out on such a special topic. Do you know Jess?
yeah, she went to my high school.
So, I don't know what the date of this picture is, but does that reflect her high school behavior? Did she start off early as a naughty
I mean,
one?
according to this,
Mm-hmm.
it seems to be the case.
Now, what is that? Is that something you might wear? I don't even know what that article is.
Almost looks like a bag of some kind. Maybe there's coal in it.
Oh, a coal bag.
I don't
Or
know.
or maybe
Bag
it's
of
full of
naughty.
naughty things.
It might be a cape for a guinea pig.
Okay, that's true. Well, that
But why would it say wait, smile, you've been naughty?
Okay, maybe it wasn't a cape for a guinea pig. That was
A
not
naughty
good.
guinea
I mean, if the
Naughty
words
guinea
were on it,
pig.
it would look like that.
It's rather small. That's the observation I'm making.
so we have
Maybe
a
it shrunk.
verdict. We have a verdict. You all have your opinion on how naughty and how embarrassing Jess has been in this photo.
Yeah.
Now I would like to present you with a picture of our UMass Yak Back director. Her name is Haley Wicker. This picture, you can't really blame her. She's young. She doesn't really know much better. But I think the focus on this picture is the dental work. She has what we used to know as braces. I don't know what they call them nowadays. I haven't had them for 5-6 years? Brendan, scale of 1 to 10, rank this chick, please.
10. Absolute knockout. There's no questions about it.
You're a very generous man, Brendan.
Yeah.
You're very generous. I would not have ranked it a 10. I'll withhold my ranking, but Mike, what do you think?
Whoa, there's a lot going on in there.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, once again, you don't get to choose how your teeth are. It's just something that happens.
Choose, no pun intended.
Choose, pun intended.
Nice. Oh, wow. I totally read
Entirely.
that wrong.
Yeah,
Now, can you analyze that for food scraps, please?
got to get in there, but I bet you there's something in between the front two.
Is it meat, produce?
I would guess like a chicken or a chicken broth,
a
maybe
lamb chicken.
soup.
I've seen her eat chicken before. It is disgusting. She's post braces now.
She better.
Imagine what it was like with the braces.
It must have been terrible.
It
Yeah.
must
Ne-
have been embarrassing.
Now, Pat, based on tooth alignment, how far along in her braces do you think that is?
She better brace herself for Pat's review.
I never knew her. You said she's. You said. Oh, I was thinking of Jess. I was gonna say if you had known what her teeth were like before, but you don't. So what do you think her teeth look like now compared to then?
I can't analyze it because I don't want to look at the picture.
That's
The longer
true.
I look at it, the
That's
more like.
true.
Honestly feel like kind of no offense, sorry Haley, but I just feel uncomfortable when I look at this.
Knowing Haley,
It's
how
just
you-
one of those pictures like if you were scrolling through Facebook, you'd be like up next, just like kind of cut through the next one.
I think that would be one of those ones where you look at someone's photo and you accidentally press the left arrow and you go to like their first one and you're like, oh, get out of here, and you have to hit double
Get
right,
back to the right.
double right.
You ever watch the Animal Planet or Discovery Channel and you see a zebra eating grass?
Yeah,
And they do that weird pull the lips back and teeth chomp thing?
I've seen camels do it
I
too.
feel
Yeah,
as though she's being fed grass or
Yeah,
oats maybe.
it's like when
Perhaps
you're on a
oats.
safari and the animal reaches its head and trying to
Through
get
the
some of
window.
your Funyuns, and you're just like, oh no.
You gotta like swat maybe sometimes.
Exactly. All right. They've had enough. So fellas, I want you guys to vote. Who has the more embarrassing picture? Do we have Jess or Haley as the most appalling subject of a photograph?
I mean, I think the one of Haley's awkward, but I think if you compare the two, I think that one's
Because Haley, you can't really
Rough.
blame her. Jess,
yeah. Everybody's been here,
yeah, I was there.
Yeah,
I can't
that's a
really
good point.
hate.
but
But Jess,
if you've been there-
that's a show of judgment.
Few people have been there.
It's a conscious decision.
Yeah,
That's a,
It's a
dis-
slim-
that's
slim
a
naughty
display
list.
of character right there. All right, so can I get who thinks Jess's is more embarrassment?
I would like
Embarrassing.
to say that.
Unanimous. Okay.
Unanimous.
Haley, you're safe. Round 2. Now we have two wonderful subjects. The first two, we have a tag team. We have two people, two panelists who are usually on the show. We have Miles Powell and Nick DeStatio. This is from their youth. This is at a semi-formal arrangement. I think this is freshman semi. I am from the same hometown as them. I knew them way back when. This is Miles. This is his interesting face that he used to do. It was his classic face. This, and then Nick with his Mr. Cool Guy thing that it really never panned out for him. We thought it might be shadows of what might come forward, but never did. Brendan, what's your impression of these two bros?
They look the same. They look exactly like the same person.
They're not unique. They don't stand out.
No, I don't think so.
I can see that they're just trying to fit that mold. That when you're a freshman in high school and you're trying to be that guy.
Yep,
They're each trying to be that guy.
trying to be guys.
Spoiler alert! I know it's not the series finale segment anymore, but they don't turn into that guy. Mike, what do you think of these guys?
Well, very sharp dressed with the flower. Is that a lapel?
Corsage.
Corsage.
They're formal, but not semi-formal.
It's
Wow.
European.
Trying to replace facial hair with your fingers is kind of weird, so I'd say that loses some points. But guy on right's got the nice hairstyle and a very intimidating face.
I don't like the look.
Yeah.
He looks like he's gonna like stab me and steal my wallet.
I get that.
So I
impression
would
from him,
avoid him on the street.
too.
And I'd say overall it's pretty embarrassing. They look like they take photographs with girls without touching them. They like hover their hand over.
Cup hand.
You know what I'm
Photoshop.
They would
saying?
they would slow dance
No,
with the girl.
They look like that.
Cup hand. Pat, what do you think?
Ugh.
What's your initial impression on
I
this?
what I'm just realizing now, like, because it's dark in the picture, but Nick is doing the cross the arms,
Oh,
like
kind of bulk up the shoulders a little
yeah,
bit.
which I don't think has ever been a good look for anybody.
That's actually in the same period. There was another kid in our class who had a similar hairdo as Nick, and we referred to them as Hansel and Gretel. So I think that was his Gretel phase, which is something he's glad he's gotten beyond, and I'm sure he's not pleased to have this come back up. So take that in. I have another contender for you. This one is pretty funny. This is like a Molly playing Loch Ness Monster kind of thing. Is it real? Is it real? Is it a log? We have Molly, a young girl. She looks as though she's anywhere between the ages of 11 and 16 and a half. She seems to be seriously enjoying herself in I don't know if that's salt water or fresh water, but she's having a little bit of trouble with her bikini top. I don't know whether it's actual trouble or just kind of like, hey, look, I have a bikini first time. Don't it look so pretty? Look at it. But I think it's something that she'd look back and regret on. Brendan, what do you think of this picture? Real or fake?
I think this picture is the winner. Like
already?
Yeah, I'll make that.
That's your initial impression. It's that embarrassing.
It's the winner.
All right.
Absolutely.
Whoa, jeez. This looks like the type of girl who would be on the Disney Channel for most of her life, and then end up at the VMAs twerking on Robin Thicke.
Oh yeah, I've heard of
It
those.
looks like someone whose life goes downhill very quickly, and this might be in the middle of that spiral. This is pretty. I'd say it takes the cake out of the three we've already seen.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, this is not looking good for
that's
the double
gruesome.
team.
The funny thing is, knowing Molly for most of my life, like looking back now, this is a pretty good indicator of where things were gonna go.
I can see that. I can understand that.
I feel uncomfortable looking at this picture. It's kind of like
It is kind of weird, right?
I think the weirdest part is that there's no one else in this picture, and it's from really far away.
You want me to weird you out even more? Imagine if you didn't know her and that was a random girl. You'd say, what is this sketchy, random little girl doing in this little lake waist deep? I'm not interested in
This
looking
looks
at
like the beginning of a really inappropriate video.
And I guess so. All right, let's do another vote. Who's got Nick and Miles, and who's got Molly Plain?
That's should be a unanimous.
All right,
Molly.
Nick and Miles. Anyone?
Not a soul.
All right, Molly Plain. That is embarrassing. The votes are in. We've decided that the two most embarrassing photos are Jess O'Hanley's smile, I've been naughty, and we have Molly Plain, look at me, I'm in a bikini. Now, fellas, I know we have two very enticing young ladies in these pictures. Now, which one of them is the least enticing for you? Which one of them is the most humiliating? Jess, Molly. Molly, Jess. Brendan, I want your vote. Jess or Molly?
Molly.
Molly, we have one for Molly. Mike, what do you think?
It's tough. Everyone goes through an awkward stage, but it seems like Molly's still stuck there, so I'm going to have to give it to Molly.
Oh, ooh, all right. So, Pat, I know your vote matters. Please tell us what you think.
I think you knew where I was going from the start. I also am going to go with Molly's picture as the most embarrassing one.
Oh, Molly Plain, embarrassing girl of the century. So, I think this will be a reoccurring event. But for right now, this picture of Molly Plain is the most embarrassing picture you'll see today. And that's what we try to offer you on Yak Back. Hyperbolic example of certain things throughout your day. This day it's embarrassment. Earlier on it was government. Then it was season finales. We just try to bring you the most brain-shattering, influential information, entertainment-wise. So look at this picture, go to bed at night, dream about it, wake up in the middle of the night, don't be able to fall back asleep. You're watching UMass Yak Back, and don't forget, it's going to be a cold winter.